Racism's not that bad. I mean, it's 2024, right?
J.D. Vance also has a non-white wife, an Indian wife, and a kid named Vivek. All his kids have Indian names. So it's like, what exactly are we getting here? And that's not a dig at him just because I'm a racist or something. But it's like, who is this guy really? Do we really expect that the guy who has an Indian wife and named their kid Vivek is going to support white identity? Like, there's a white genocide going on in the world.
That is Nick Fuentes. If you've never heard of him, I'm sorry that I'm even bringing him in your life. He might be one of the worst people on earth. That same man has been seen having dinner with Donald Trump and Kanye West. That same man has been helping Republicans in their campaigns. That same man has been seen at dinner parties with billionaires, Attorney General Ken Paxton, and Governor Dan Patrick, all out of Texas. Nick Fuentes praises Hitler and says that there is a white genocide happening. It's like these are villains from a movie, but this is very much real life. Somebody like this has gotten so big that they're allowed to become rich off of it. If somebody like this is able to make that much money, you have to think, who's giving them money?
Did you hear that Florida man Ron DeSantis signed a law allowing religious chaplains to teach at public schools? Florida currently suffers from a massive teacher shortage. Who could have seen that coming? To mitigate the problem, failed Trump opponent DeSantis said religious chaplains should teach in public schools, but specifically mentioned that Satanists weren't allowed to participate. Well, Satanists are having a laugh over this one because Florida's governor has no idea how the law works. Nothing in the text of the bill serves to exclude Satanists, and there's no way to interpret the First Amendment to do so. And suddenly, and with warning, DeSantis is doubling down on his statement that Satanism is not a religion. Satanism is a religion. The temple, founded in 2014, says its mission is to encourage benevolence and empathy and reject tyrannical authority. I'd argue rejecting tyrannical authority has more of a place in schools than the Christian nationalism DeSantis desires. But I'm not the governor of Florida. But I can be. Vote for Alex Lewis in the next Florida governor's race. I have no idea when it is, and I don't live in Florida, but I want my own state. Let's do it.
You talking about a troll page that I created back in 2021 to really illustrate to a lot of the black conservatives that these folks don't give a damn about what you say and how much sense it make, as long as you saying something that kind of agree with them. You see what I'm saying? And the more crazy and barbaric and anti-black it is, the better they like you. You know what I'm saying? That page is able to amass like 30,000 followers in like a couple of weeks. You feel me? Back in 2020, the TikTok streets and debating used to be crazy. And I got tired of debating these black conservatives with logic, because I feel like, you know what I'm saying, you can't really get through a brick wall trying to use, you know what I'm saying, rocks. You feel me? So shit, I was able to, you know, illustrate they full of shit. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, to this day, people still follow for the page. But I'm actually thinking about taking it down, because now I think that there are more people on TikTok that kind of don't get it. You know what I'm saying? But thank you for asking, though. You know what I'm saying?
Why do white gay people, immediately after coming out, act like the opposite gender, but black? Why are you acting like a black woman from, like, Atlanta when you live in Maine? Both your parents are dentists that make over $200,000 a year, and you're over here like, girl, don't do it. Why do you talk like that?
Tuesday night, news broke that Grindr is experiencing outages due to unprecedented traffic in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And in what I'm sure is completely unrelated news, Wednesday marks day 3 of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Let's fucking go. Let's go. I guess.
Hey, I'm Nina, and I studied the arts, education, and social justice.
Yeah! First thing I noticed is that all of these people are women of color, or minorities, like they got the nose ring going on, the piercings. So that's a thing, that's a theme, right? We got the theme going.
I noticed that too. Is that why you chose that video to respond to? Because you wanted to be racist? Because seeing women of color educated triggers you for some reason? Why have you taken this moment of joy and celebration for women of color who have been historically prevented from accessing higher education and turned it into a video criticizing and undermining them? You could have chosen any other video to respond respond to make the same point that you don't like your tax money being used on education, but you chose the video of a bunch of women of color celebrating their liberal arts degrees. This definitely has a racialized aspect to it because I've seen not just this creator, but other conservative creators comment on this same video.
My name is Eliel, and I concentrated in Black Stories.
You went to NYU, a school that costs $60,000 a year for that?
The degrees that these conservatives claim are useless and that they don't want to pay for, as shown in this video, are things like black storytelling, colonial history, things that are really, really important. And to undermine all that hard work and research that these people do by saying they'll just end up in Starbucks or some minimum wage service job is just to completely misunderstand what education is supposed to be about. Sure, there are some degrees you can do that mean it will be more likely you'll get a job after you complete them, but there's no guarantee. You don't control the job market. I got a pretty useless degree. I got a degree in contemporary dance. That's not really helping anyone, and I'm not a professional dancer right now. Part of that is my fault, but I also don't control where the government and local councils put their money. I can't help that the arts are dying. And how depressing to spend all your time and money studying something that you might not have any interest in just so that you might suffer less under a capitalist system. Study what you're passionate about. I don't live in America, but I'm pretty sure more of your tax money goes into the military than it does into education, and that just seems backwards to me. I can't speak for anyone else, but I want to live in a world where the most amount of people possible have access to things like education, healthcare, and housing. And if that means I have to spend more in taxes, I'm willing to do that.
It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good.
What are they cooking this time? Please pay attention to Bangladesh right now. So far, 19 people have been killed by police and hundreds have been injured during student-led protests over their country's job quota system, among many other things. The system was abolished in 2018 following mass protests, but the Bangladeshi courts reinstated this last month. And this is a very big labor issue. The job market over there is not great and people are already having a hard time finding a job, and this is going to make things worse. What's also feeding into this is the general frustration with Bangladeshi citizens and their corrupt government. Anyways, the quota system being protested functions to distribute good-paying government jobs to specific groups. It reserves some jobs for ethnic minorities and people with disabilities, but 30% of these jobs are reserved for the children and grandchildren of the people who fought in their war for independence. Many people find this discriminatory and unfair and are demanding the system to be reformed and scaled back in percentage to mainly help disabled people and minority groups. Things are currently very violent and students and protesters need our solidarity and support right now. Thank you for watching this to the end.
Condemning political violence is actually what those college students in tents were doing the entire time. A Biden campaign official says rather than verbally attacking Trump in the coming days, the White House and the Biden campaign will draw on the president's history of condemning all sorts of political violence, including his sharp criticism of the disorder created by campus protests over the Israel-Gaza conflict, campaign officials said on a condition of anonymity. In other words, the Biden campaign is comparing an assassination attempt against Trump to thousands of anti-war college kids nationwide who themselves were then met with political violence and people threatening them with rape, assaulting them, and cracking fireworks at them. The status quo demands that political violence be reduced to individual acts. Denying us healthcare can't be political violence. Funding and arming a G-slide state can't be political violence. Giving billions to police and war can't be political violence. Guy who has supported 10 months of dropping POWs on children. I condemn political violence. Since violence is never the answer, why haven't you said anything about unaliving Palestinians? Because Democrats will say there's absolutely no place for political violence. A Palestinian will say Israel just POW'd my entire family, and the Democrats will say fuck off. Anyways, to finish this off on a slightly different note, what's your opinion of JD Vance? He looks like a racist Care Bear. Okay, good night.
Yesterday, a man named Samuel Sharp Jr. was executed by police in Milwaukee 1 mile away from the Republican National Convention. I want to use this video to do two things. Number one, I want to let you know that there is a GoFundMe that Angelique, his sister, has set up to help afford the funeral costs and whatever other expenses that the family may need during this time of unimaginable grief. And two, I want to let you know the timeline of events so that you can feel the same frustration that I feel with the deadly negligence of the city of Milwaukee and the Milwaukee police. I'm going to put a link in my bio as well as the description of this video and in the comments for the GoFundMe. If you all could please share this to, one, spread the story, but two, gather support for his family during this time of need. I also want it to be known that I will be including a link to a spreadsheet that includes all of the articles that I will be referencing here in this video. It's been known since last year that the Republican National Convention would be hosted in Milwaukee, and the city has been steadily preparing with the police force for security measures. In March, Congress approved sending $25 million in addition to an already $50 million in security grants for the RNC. Milwaukee Police Department planned to spend that money on horses, on a submersible robot, and on bringing officers to Milwaukee from 24 states around the country, all the way from California to Ohio. Over 4,000 out-of-state officers arrived in Milwaukee. Not one received additional training for the convention. So now that we know the context of the months leading up to the RNC, let's fast forward to 1 week before the RNC. Why try to hide us now? Just last week, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel published a story about how homeless people are being told they must move from the downtown area in preparation for the RNC. The MPD denies doing anything other than providing resources to these unhoused individuals, but nonetheless, people are still feeling ever so compelled to move. While interviewing for this story, 6 squad cars showed up. So let's be clear, the city of Milwaukee had $75 million in months to prepare for the RNC, and it wasn't until 1 week before the RNC that they started pushing people out of the area. Let's also be clear that that money was spent on hiring out-of-state officers that received no additional proper training. Just 2 days after the RNC had started, an out-of-state officer from Ohio fatally shot Samuel Sharp Jr. just a mile away from the Republican National Convention. The city of Milwaukee is responsible for the death of Samuel, who is also known as Ja by members of his community. And it's not just because an out-of-state officer killed Ja. Milwaukee does not help its unhoused population. Instead, they evict them, subject them to intimidation from the police and no help. Even just a fraction of the money wasted on the security detail of the RNC was instead used to help the unhoused population, none of this would have happened. Keep in mind, that $75 million was, instead of being spent on resources for the unhoused population, was spent on horses and a submarine. Instead of affordable housing, the city of Milwaukee thinks it's a better use of funds to hire out-of-state bloodthirsty officers to kill the unhoused population. Justice for Samuel and justice for Ja. The city of Milwaukee needs to be held accountable for the death of Ja, as well as the 5 officers from Ohio that shot him. Please share this video so that people can know about the GoFundMe and so that they can know about what happened.
Haley has said she's releasing all of her 97 delegates, but we're also hearing from her spokesperson that Haley is not invited to the Republican convention. This even as she drops her delegates and urges them to unite behind former President Donald Trump. Haley's longtime spokesperson said to me, she's not invited and Trump is entitled to have the convention that he wants.
I never thought the leopards would eat my face. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. So I changed my name to hide my race, but they put this brown girl in her place. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. Slow it down now. I never thought the leopards would eat my face. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. I changed my name to hide my race, but they put this brown girl in her place. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. But we all knew it would happen eventually to Nimrata.